Now let's talk about who gets financial aid, or in other words, what does it take to be eligible for financial aid? So let's just outline these. First, you have to qualify to obtain a college education. So, meaning you can't be 8 years old and just say, hey, I want to get some financial aid so I can go to college. You have to be ready to go to college, meaning you have to either have your high school diploma, a GED, or completed your high school education through an approved homeschool arrangement. Second, you have to be enrolled in college. So you can't just say, give me the money and then I'll figure out this whole college thing. So you have to be enrolled as a regular student. So that means that you're actually going to college to earn a degree, meaning you can't go to a community college and take a photography class. That doesn't count. You have to actually be a regular student seeking a degree. And then next, if you're male, you have to register with the Selective Service. The next criteria is you actually have to have a social security number. So you'll find that out pretty quickly when you start filling out the FAFSA form, which we'll talk about next. But you have to have a social security number unless you live in certain places where those aren't used, like the Marshall Islands, Micronesia, and so on. Our next criteria is you have to sign certain statements when you fill out your FAFSA. And those say things like you're not in default, you're only going to use the money for education, but that is part of the application process. Next, you have to maintain satisfactory academic progress. It's kind of like when I was a kid and we wanted to go to private school and my dad said something like, well, I'm not going to pay for you to go somewhere and get bad grades. Well, the federal government is basically the same as my dad. They're not going to pay for you to get bad grades. So in order to be eligible and remain eligible, you have to have satisfactory academic progress. And that what they call satisfactory is going to vary from school to school, but I am certain that the financial aid department at whatever school you choose will make sure that you know what satisfactory academic progress is and if you're not meeting that standard. And then the last criteria has to do with citizenship. So you must be a U.S. citizen or a U.S. national. Or you could have a green card. Or you could have an I-94. And, an I-94 is for people who are in the country because they've been granted asylum or they're a refugee from their own country. Maybe another option is to have battered immigrant status. But basically, what this last eligibility requirement is saying is that in order to receive federal financial aid, you have to be living in this country legally. So these are all the ways that they will recognize legal status. And then altogether, these 7 items are the eligibility criteria for federal financial aid. So this is what you have to do to get financial aid the first time and then to continue to receive federal financial aid.